Here we go. Here comes that red wave. Okay, here we go. Here comes that red trickle.
Minneapolis in the morning.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the second ever episode of Minneapolis in the Morning, 6 months after the first episode. My name is Jason Sellers. I'm a political science student in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and today I am going to be talking about election results. This is a little thing I do called Minneapolis in the Morning, only the second time I've done it. I do have a podcast. I'm doing this on I'm doing this on Minneapolis in the Morning instead of on my podcast because I don't think I can go very in depth. Like, I'm going to talk about some races and I'm going to give you percentages, but I'm not going to go that in depth, so I don't know how long it'll be. So that's why it's more of this format instead of the podcast format. You can find my podcast as well as this on my YouTube channel, Jason Sellers Politics. In fact, I don't even know why I'm saying that because you're already on here. But you can also find my podcast on Spotify, Jason Sellers Politics Podcast. You can follow me on Twitter for now, Elon, at VoteSellers, and follow me on Instagram at VoteSellers. I have to admit something. I once said I will never change my handle because I'm kind of OCD about it, because I made it VoteSellers when I thought I was going to run for mayor. I ended up not being able to run for mayor, but I kept a VoteSellers because, if people tag me and then I change my handle, it's kind of weird. I am thinking of changing it though. However, I applied for some stuff. I had to put my social medias down, so I probably won't change it for a little while at least. But I'll probably change it to Jason Sellers Minneapolis or something like that. So yeah, this is Minneapolis in the Morning. We talk about Minneapolis stuff mostly. We also talk about politics because that's what I like to talk about, and it all affects everybody. So if you're in Minneapolis, what happens if the federal government affects you? And what happens if the state government affects you? What happens in the local government definitely affects you. And I like to talk about that. I like the local government probably the most just because it's kind of niche and a lot of people don't follow it. But today we're going to be talking about some races across the country, and then we're going to go into Minnesota. I have this map back here. It's not entirely accurate. It still says Lake Calhoun, and there's another mistake I found. Oh yeah, which one was it? See if you can see here. Something was spelled wrong. Trying to figure. Oh yeah, Lyndhurst is spelled with one N, where in reality it should be spelled with two. So let's get right into this episode of Minneapolis in the Morning. We're going to start off with just some weather for Minneapolis today. Today is Wednesday, November 9th at about 8:17 a.m. when I'm recording this. So in Minneapolis today, chance of storms, high of 66, low of 50. Yeah, I don't really know why I go into weather, because a lot of people who are watching this, it's either later in the day, so it doesn't really matter, or it's not even today anymore. But I like to do it. I had a show called Amigo in the morning. I had a show on YouTube. And I'd go into weather in some few cities. So I kind of do it just for nostalgia. Minnesota sports: the 5 and 6 Timberwolves host the 7 and 3 Suns tonight at 7 p.m. I think that's on Bally. Maybe that's on national TV. I don't think so though. The Wild lost 1-0 in Los Angeles to the Kings last night to go to 5, 6 and 1. And then this Sunday, the 7 and 1 Minnesota Vikings visit the 6 and 2 Bills on Sunday at noon on Fox. Listen, I love politics. I've been interested in it for a few years, but I've loved the Vikings for a lot longer. I am a football fan. I'm a sports fan, mainly football. But yeah, so I'm excited for the game. I really hope Josh Allen plays. For one, because I don't want him to be hurt. That's just mean. But for two, if the Vikings play Case Keenum or something and they win, it's going to be illegitimate and it's not going to be a real test. You know what I'm saying? Not that the Bills are bad without Josh Allen. I mean, Josh Allen is their MVP, but it's not like the Bills don't have other good players. That's the thing. So I would be cautious of even if honestly, even if Josh Allen isn't there, I think I'm picking the Bills. I have PTSD from when who was it, Matt Moore or something for the Chiefs started when Patrick Mahomes was hurt and beat the Vikings. Chiefs ended up winning the Super Bowl. Do you know the Super Bowl winner has beaten the Vikings every year since 2013 with the exception of 2016? Alright, let's get into some midterms. We're going to start with some gubernatorial races. This was all as of 8 a.m. today, Central Time. Yeah, let's get into it. We're gonna start with just uh, a few ones that weren't really, that contested, but are still kind of important, and then we'll go in for the closer ones. We'll give you percentages and stuff. From Michigan, Gretchen Whitmer, Democrat, won re-election. New York, Kathy Hochul, first-term Democrat who came in for Cuomo, won re-election. New Mexico, Michelle Lujan Grisham, won re-election. And California, Gavin Newsom won re-election. Massachusetts Democrat Maura Healey won, which you might think isn't a big deal, but Massachusetts' previous governor, who couldn't run this time, either that or retired, was a Republican. And same with Maryland, Wes Moore, Democrat, won. So there was 4 states that were like, how do you have Republican governors? New Hampshire, which I guess is kind of a contested state though. Vermont, Massachusetts, and Maryland. So now Massachusetts and Maryland are Democrat governors. Granted, majority for governors doesn't matter that much. I mean, there is like a board of governors, I think, but so those two are flips, Massachusetts and Maryland. The 2 in Vermont and New Hampshire both won, so the Republicans will keep in those. So yeah, Pennsylvania, big gubernatorial race. Josh Shapiro with 93% reporting. Democrat Josh Shapiro defeats Doug Mastriano 55.6 to 42.6. This was not as contested as the Senate race in Pennsylvania. I was watching MSNBC for like 7 hours last night. Doug Mastriano was just not a good candidate. In Ohio, 97% reporting. Mike DeWine defeated Nan Whaley 62.8 to 37.2. This one was called on MSNBC as soon as the polls came in, which was crazy because Ohio's Senate race was again contested a little bit. Florida, 99% reporting. Ron DeSantis defeats Charlie Crist 59.4% to 40%. Ron DeSantis, hate to say it, keep that name in mind, not just because he's crazy as a governor, but he could be president in 3 years. I mean, I don't know. I assume Trump will run and be the nominee, but if he doesn't, DeSantis is a popular pick, and 2029 or 2028, DeSantis is a popular pick, I think. So just remember that name, unfortunately. In Georgia, 98% reporting. Brian Kemp defeats Stacey Abrams 53.4% to 45.9%. One of 3 states that I projected would have split tickets for governor and senate, along with Wisconsin and Arizona, although Wisconsin was the opposite. And it looks like I might have been right, unfortunately, and it wasn't a sweep. Yeah, Stacey Abrams, man, she's a great candidate. And, she inspires a lot of people, but she hasn't won. In Texas, 97% reporting. Republican Greg Abbott runs re-election against Beto O'Rourke, 54.9% to 43.8%. Beto, I don't know. Maybe he's just not that good of a candidate because he's losing everything. Lost in 2018, didn't make it far at all in the primary in 2020, and then lost this year. Yeah, I saw a tweet that said, just stop giving Beto O'Rourke your money. Yeah, Greg Abbott, man. I don't know. You'd think after a tragic shooting like Uvalde that people might have some common sense and some, sympathy, but in Wisconsin, 99% reporting. Democratic incumbent Tony Evers defeats Tim Michels 51.2% to 47.8%. That's a good one. Their previous governor, Walker, was pretty terrible, I hear. Evers won in 2018, which surprised some, I think. And then he won re-election. Meanwhile, the Senate race is not going the same way. This is Arizona. Arizona's interesting because it's only 63% reporting, but Katie Hobbs, who I heard was just a bad campaign, is leading Carrie Lake 50.9% to 49.1%. This was one of the ones I had split. I had Carrie Lake winning the governorship. Is that a word, governorship? And Mark Kelly winning the Senate race. And I think a lot of people did have that, or at least have Carrie Lake win. But as of right now, 63% reporting, so there's a long way to go. It's a West Coast state, even though it's not on the coast. But so we'll see. And then Kansas, 97% reporting. This is the last one just because it's an interesting state. It's like the New England states that are red. It's Kansas, which has a blue governor. Laura Kelly, the incumbent Democrat, is leading Derek Schmidt 49.2% to 47.7%. So not 50% yet, but so those were the gubernatorial races I thought were notable. Um, you know, I didn't mention Minnesota because I'm gonna have their own segment, but I don't know. I just feel like for governor's races, people don't care as much about party. Um, they don't care about having a majority because the majority does make a difference in like the Senate and the House. So a lot of people, maybe they'll use this excuse of bipartisanship. They'll vote, okay, we need a Democratic Senate, but since our Senate's going to be Democratic, let's vote for a Republican governor. I don't know. But, it's federal versus state, so does that really even make a difference? I don't know. That's an illusion, and I actually am going to talk about that for one of the Minnesota races. So, those are the gubernatorial races. I want to say governor, I want to say gubernatorial. I never know which one to say, so I kind of mixed them up that time. So, for the U.S. Senate, there were 10 races. I think a lot of, for the most part, everyone thought were the battlegrounds. I do battlegrounds in quotes because some of them weren't close, but they were New Hampshire, Colorado, Florida, North Carolina, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Georgia, Wisconsin, Arizona, and Nevada. And for those, we have, I think, 6 of them have been called. So New Hampshire, 81% reporting Maggie Hassan defeats Donald Bolduc, 54.2% to 43.8%. That one went a little late into the night, a little later than comfortable, but Colorado, 80% reporting incumbent Democrat Michael Bennet, didn't he run for president? Defeats Joe O'Dea, 54.9% to 42.5%. That one, again, went a little later than comfortable. I know these were supposed to be contested, but Democrats were supposed to win, and thank God they did. In Florida, 99% reporting Marco Rubio defeats Val Demings, 57.7 to 41.3, so not really that close. Yeah, I mean Florida. Florida's going to Florida. I wasn't expecting, I projected Republicans to win this one. I didn't think it was going to be that close, but I put it because it's an important state. And, it's going to be a little contested. North Carolina, 98% reporting Ted Budd defeats Sherry Beasley, 50.7% to 47.1%. This was an open seat, but it was a Republican hold. And Ohio, another open seat, 97% reporting J.D. Vance, Republican. J.D. Vance is going to be in the U.S. federal government. Defeats Tim Ryan, 53.3% to 46.7%. Ohio going to Ohio. Florida going to Florida, and Ohio going to Ohio. Hopefully people don't bring this up when I run for president. I'll use the I'm only 19 excuse, which is an excuse I really believe. But all right, so let's get to the one. Oh, actually, there is one more. This one is a flip. Pennsylvania, 93% reporting. This was like the last thing I saw before I went to bed last night. Went to sleep last night. I was watching MSNBC in bed for a little bit. 93% reporting. Democrat Lieutenant Governor John Fetterman defeats Dr. Mehmet Oz, 50.3% to 47.3%. So it's a 3% margin. It's already been called. It's exciting, not just because it's a Democrat, but Fetterman seems like a pretty cool guy. There's health issues, or concerns, I should say, about health issues. So we'll see how that goes. In Georgia, here we go. We got 4 that haven't been called yet. Georgia, 98% reporting. Raphael Warnock actually is leading Herschel Walker. And I say actually because I actually predicted Warnock to win, but Walker is leading when I went to sleep last night. Warnock's leading, though, 49.4% to 48.5%. I'm a Vikings fan, so inherently I didn't like Herschel Walker before I even knew he was going to run for office. Not that I was alive when that trade happened. But God, Herschel Walker, I can't. Oh my God, J.D. Vance is one thing. Herschel Walker's, I don't know. They're both. It's not like either one's good, but God, could you imagine Herschel Walker representing the federal government? Wisconsin, 99% reporting. Ron Johnson leading Mandela Barnes, 50.5 to 49.5, exactly a 1% margin. Looks like Ron Johnson's going to win that, and it's pretty sad. Again, I don't know how people vote for Evers, but vote for Johnson. I gotta hurry up. I gotta bring my dog to the vet in a few minutes. Arizona, 63% reporting. Mark Kelly leading Blake Masters, 51.9 to 45.9. Again, it's early in Arizona. But yeah, like when I saw it last night, it was like a 19% margin. But early returns usually favor Democrats. So Nevada, 72% reporting. Adam Laxalt, the Republicans, actually leading Catherine Cortez Masto, 49.9% to 47.2%. That's not good. That would be a flip because Catherine Cortez Masto is an incumbent Democrat. And Nevada takes a long time. Like Steve Kornacki on NBC last night was saying it's going to be like 1:30 Eastern Time a.m. when we get our first Nevada results, but then they come in a bunch. Remember, they took a really long time in 2020. For the U.S. House now, I'm not going to go over any races except for one in the Minnesota segment, but Democrats were supposed to dominate, and then Dobbs v. Jackson happened. And I'm not saying it was a good thing because it wasn't, and a lot of people have had their abortion rights taken away in some states. But it really messed up the Republicans' chances. Thank God. I mean, thank God some people had some sense. People realized this is crazy. Even if you are one of the, I mean, I imagine few people who actually believe abortion is bad just because it's like a sin or something. Because let's be real, it's not about that. It's about control over women's bodies. Let's be real. It doesn't affect you if somebody in a different state, somebody you don't know has an abortion. Even if somebody you know has an abortion, you should respect it, right? Like, so the U.S. House is going to be closer. Steve Kornacki was saying last night. Oh, I really gotta go. Steve Kornacki was saying last night. It was projected 2/18 majority. Republicans would be 219 to 216 plus or minus 13% margin of error. So it could be anywhere at this point. Democrats could keep the House. All right, Minnesota. You should follow some people in Minnesota, some reporters in Minneapolis and Minnesota Twin Cities. They're not all in Minneapolis, but David Brower, Josh Martin, Melody Hoffman, Wedge Live, of course. I always mention that. But Naomi Kritzer is, I think she's based in St. Paul, but she writes about all the Minneapolis and St. Paul elections. And I actually took some of her stuff into account, so I'll mention her a couple times. But she has a blog, and she's also an author too. So, Governor Tim Walz and Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan defeat the Jensen Matt Burke ticket, 52.27% to 44.6%. 100% of precincts are in, so I guess these are all final, but some of them are close. So I'm scared to call him governor. I'm not close. They called it last night. But Attorney General Keith Ellison, I guess, defeated Jim Schultz, 50.37% to 49.53%. So that's like 2% worse than Governor Tim Walz. Keith Ellison, I guess, is seen as liberal or too left. Secretary of State Steve Simon defeats Kim Crockett 54.53% to 45.38%. Sorry, I'm Russian now. I gotta bring my dog to the vet. And State Auditor Julie Blahad defeats Ryan Wilson 47.47% to 47.12%. I think it's for two reasons. One is the marijuana candidates. Legalize cannabis now and illegal marijuana now. Was that out there? Or grassroots legalized cannabis and legal marijuana now candidates. I think that's a big reason. I think part of it might be the bipartisanship. I think people think, I'm voting Democrat for Tim Walz and Keith Ellison, and well, probably not Keith Ellison at that point, but I want to have some compromise, and this state auditor race doesn't matter, so I'm going to go Republican. Maybe that's the thing. Maybe they have a sense of that, but that's not a real thing anyways. Hennepin County Attorney, this is a big one. Mary Moriarty defeats Martha Holton Dimmick 57.59% to 41.82%. Martha Holton Dimmick ran a campaign based on fear, based on intimidation, based on, you're gonna get shot. She didn't say that, but it's an exaggeration. But it was not a good campaign, and not a nice campaign. I don't know what to say. Not a gracious campaign. Martha Holton Dimmick, the North Side represent. Mary Moriarty won every precinct in North Minneapolis. Hennepin County Sheriff DeWanna Witt defeats Joseph Banks 63.99% to 35.37%. I voted for DeWanna Witt in the primary. I didn't actually think Joseph Banks had a chance in the primary, but top two go, and he got in. And I was going to vote DeWanna Witt. I met him at a forum, and Joseph Banks didn't seem that bad. But then again, I read a Naomi Kritzer blog, and she said some things that kind of made it sound like he didn't really know what the job was. School board at large, Colin Beachy won, and Sonia Emmerich won the second seat, barely over Carrie Jo Felder. Like, it was less than 500 votes. I voted for Carrie Jo Felder, but again, Naomi had a blog, and it said some things about Carrie Jo that were kind of concerning, so I almost voted for Sonia. I didn't. But this is the big ones. State House, Democrats retain majority. State Senate, out of 67 seats, the Democrats take the majority, 34 to 33. That's big. The state legislature is now controlled by the Democrats and the governorship. Whew. And then the one U.S. House, everybody won who was expected, and 2 was the only one that was contested. But Angie Craig, who I actually thought would lose, defeats Tyler Kistner 51% to 45.7%. This is big because it's an indication. It's one of the most indicative races. So it's pretty big that Angie Craig wins. So that's it for this episode of Minneapolis in the Morning. Thanks for watching. Sorry I had to rush through it, but I got to take my dog to the vet and I have to leave in like 1 minute. So yes, thanks for watching. Uh, 2023 elections are coming up now. City council elections in Minneapolis. I hope to be working on campaigns, and I hope progressives win. Um, you can subscribe to my YouTube channel, Jason Sellers Politics. Follow me on Twitter for now @VoteSellers. Follow me on Instagram @VoteSellers. Thank you so much. Bye.